Have you ever stood outside your own home and realized you were nothing more than a stranger at the door? That night, I learned what betrayal really sounds like, bass rattling through the windows of the house I bled for. The driveway crunched under my tires as I pulled in, headlights slicing across the lake. My chest tightened. I hadn't told anyone I was coming. No one was supposed to be here. Yet every window glowed. Every room flickered with shadows that weren't mine. I fumbled for my keys, silver biting into my trembling fingers. But when I pushed it into the lock, it refused to turn, like the house itself was rejecting me. Then laughter. Shrill, careless laughter spilling through the cracks of my own door. The door swung open, and there she was, Celine. Mascara smeared, wineglass dangling between two careless fingers. Her smile wasn't warmth. It was mockery. "What are you doing here?" she purred. Behind her, a swarm of bodies. Uncles, cousins, strangers. Feet propped on my furniture, bottles sweating on my tables, smoke curling through the air. "This is my house," I whispered. My throat knotted around the words. Celine leaned lazily against the doorframe, eyes glinting. "No room left. Maybe sleep in your car." And then she slammed the door. On me, the owner. I stood in the night, heartbeat pounding like a war drum. My key, useless, cutting into my palm. The bass shook through the walls, through my bones. That house had been my dream, my freedom, my proof that years of sacrifice had meant something. But the truth? It hadn't started that night. No. It started long before. I remembered the ramen dinners, the second-hand coats with torn seams. Nights hunched over a flickering screen, teaching myself code until my eyes burned. The grind of 60-hour weeks. Debugging everyone else's mess, because I was the only one desperate enough to say yes. And then little victories. The first grocery trip without checking my balance 3 times. The first apartment where the peeling paint was mine. Then years later, the lake house. Paid in full. No loans. No debt. Just mine. I thought I had bought peace. But my family, they saw spoils. It began with small favors. $50 slipped into my mother's hand for the light bill. $100 for my brother Kai when his paycheck didn't stretch. But 50 turned into 500, then 2,000. Then every month, money bled from my account like clockwork. Their rent, their groceries, their comforts. And gratitude? It soured into resentment. "Must be nice," Celine once sneered when she caught sight of my clearance rack bag. Kai laughed about eating beans and rice, right after I covered his rent, so he could buy concert tickets. Even my parents played their roles. Father's silence. Mother's soft blade of words. "They just wish they had your opportunities." Opportunities. As if luck had built me. As if sacrifice didn't count. When I invited them to see the lake house, foolish pride warmed me. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd be happy for me. Instead, Celine threw her bag on the guest bed. "This one's mine," she declared. Mother hummed about how peaceful it was and asked for a key. I handed it over. Hesitant, but it felt harmless. Harmless, until the night I arrived unannounced. The house reeked of beer and smoke. Pizza boxes rotting on the counter. Cigarette burns scarred the furniture I had saved months to afford. When I demanded answers, Celine smirked. "You can afford to fix it." Kai shrugged. "Normal wear and tear." And my mother? She only sighed, pressing the key into my hand. "Don't be so dramatic." That was when I knew. They weren't guests. They weren't family borrowing space. They were colonizers. So the night I found the locks refusing me, I understood. They had copied the key. They had claimed my refuge as theirs. When my mother finally appeared in the doorway, her voice was calm, almost bored. "I made a copy before giving yours back. Just in case." Just in case. Behind her, Celine raised her glass. "No room left," she hissed again. "Sleep in your car." And the door slammed. I stood frozen, my knuckles white around a key that no longer meant anything. Tears burned. My house roared with music, laughter, strangers. And I, its owner, was exiled. That night, I drove back to my apartment. I stared at the glowing screen of my laptop, heart pounding. The payments I'd been making for years blinked back at me. Rent for Kai. Tuition for Celine. Utilities for my mother. One by one, I canceled them. Transfer canceled. Automatic payment disabled. For the first time in years, my money, my life, stayed mine. The next morning, the locks on the lake house were changed. Security cameras installed. Every copy they had made, useless now. Watching the feed of my empty living room, silence humming through the speakers, I felt calm. But when the tears came later that night, hot, endless, years of exhaustion spilling out, I whispered to myself, no more. And I meant it, because here's the truth I need you to hear. Silence doesn't buy you respect. It only teaches people how far they can push. I thought loyalty would bind us. But loyalty without boundaries is just chains. So now I ask you, if the people closest to you kept taking, kept breaking, kept pushing, how long before you'd finally say enough?